Good evening, ladies, gentlemen, and everyone in between. My name is Joseph, and we are here, your least favorite old head gamer, playing games poorly. And we are back playing more Undertale Yellow. How you doing? As you may see, I've for the time being, I've kind of given up on I'm using the green screen to kind of hide my actual background, but as far as trying to do the chroma key, make everything behind me transparent and only I stick out on camera, I've kind of given up on that for right now because it just wasn't working worth a damn. So, um, and like, I mean, it was doing a good job of hiding all this back here, but it was hiding all this back here. The problem is, the image, it was cutting part of me out as well, and so it made it look, if you went back and seen any of my VODs, it made the image look grainy and um kind of staticky. And I mean, I can work with the static image, kind of the old school, NWO type thing, but I don't know, it just really wasn't what I was going for. So, just like I said, for the time being, this is just going to be a backdrop. And anywho, enough of that bullshit. Let's head over here and let's head over here and play some games. Yeah, play some games. Play games. We can play games. 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 All right. So, we were, if I remember correctly, we were fighting Starlo, Lodestar last. Head up here and begin the battle, and I can get through most of it. It's just, why did this happen? I did everything in my power to entertain, so monsters wouldn't have to worry about being stuck down here. At every turn, I tried to cheer Soroba up. I just wanted Kanako off her mind. I'm trying my best to honor her memory. Aren't distractions what's best for all that? Not always. Not always. Seems it's the easier path, but it's not always the best path. Sometimes just going through and actually dealing with the crap is sometimes the best path. You know, sucks, but click back into the correct window. There we go. Click back into the correct window. It will actually acknowledge, hopefully, my button presses. I hope. Hmm? You. Why'd you follow me? Are you still my friend? Hold on. This all happened after you showed up. It specifically mentioned you as the problem. That's right. I was just being a good friend. I made you who you are. Yet this is what I get? Adding a little uh um Clint Eastwood to the let's face facts. Couldn't keep you here forever, kid. Word would have gotten out that Feathers hadn't clocked in eventually. Feathers. Wait a minute. Loyal guards like her have a ton of status. They gain that status by doing the king's work. I'm sure everyone would come back if I did the same. Be revered not only in the Wild East, but the entire underground. Right. Clover, you've been an excellent deputy, but as a lawman, what I'm about to do is embedded in my soul. My true duty. Don't make this difficult for me. Just hold still. There's the lasso. I know I'm better than this. Dignified sheriff would face their opponent fairly. However, you're no everyday bandit, so get ready. Damn, I thought I moved in time. Squirm inside your leather cage, but to no avail. Huh, even tied up, you're skilled. Sure have an eye for talent. Smells like leather boots and dashing looks. Narrow your eyes and everything becomes letterboxed. Still, part of me wishes things could have stayed the way they were. Tumbleweed rolls by. It says hello. Hey, AJ. Points if you get the reference. Squirm inside your leather cage, but to no avail. Why'd you have to step foot in my town? Just a few hours ago, everyone was getting along. Now, well, we're here. Smells like leather boots and dashing looks. You chomp and pull at the lasso, but it only gets tighter. This is the only way to fix things. The only way I know. Oh, that's right. And then, yeah, I totally forgot about that one. The damn horseshoe, and then it's gonna go in a circle. God damn it. Mentor versus apprentice thing is fun and all, but you do know the mentor isn't supposed to win, right? A dignified sheriff would face their opponent fairly. However, you're no everyday bandit, so get ready. Narrow your eyes. Everything becomes letterboxed. Even tied up, you're skilled. I sure have an eye for talent. Starlow's lasso grips you tightly. Chomp and pull at the lasso, but it only gets tighter. Still, part of me wishes things could have stayed the way they were. Smells like leather boots and dashing looks. You squirm inside your leather cage to no avail. But you have to step foot in my town. Just a few hours ago, everyone was getting along. Now, well, we're here. Starlow's fingers itch for his six-shooter. You narrow your eyes and everything becomes letterboxed. This is the only way to fix things. The only way I know. Shit. God damn it. Okay. You down the root beer. Carbonation tingles. Your HP was maxed out. Shit. Oh. Don't worry. Spider didn't. Your HP was maxed out. Quit scoring so much. Shit. God damn it. I don't want to be at 8 HP. Clover, you gotta understand. Motherfucker. Okay, I'll stay at 8 HP then. Fuck. Come on. Give it up already. I said 8 HP, bitch. Fine. I didn't want to use this, but I've got no choice. Goodbye, partner. Stay still. I don't want to hit my lasso. Stay still. I don't want to hit my lasso. Look what you made me do. That lasso is made from premium materials. No, no way. Outsmarted by a deputy. At least it's a fair showdown now. Time for a real duel. Duel! Gonna miss our time together. I mean that. Shit. Shouldn't I still get started? First, it was truly epic. I thought you were the real deal. Shit. That is a very, very hard attack because now the last one, the one that got me, what sucks is I gotta do the whole fucking thing over again. Fuck. There's no way this fraud bested you. Come on, show him who the real gunslinger is. Right? That's why I say Oldhead plays games poorly. I'm not good at this shit. I know I'm better than this. Yeah, I'm not using the I'm not gonna keep using the Clint Eastwood for lines I've already said because it becomes a bit rough after after a bit of time. Why'd you have to step foot in my town? Just a few hours ago, everyone was getting along. Now, well, we're here. Get off my lawn. Wait, I didn't say that. God damn it. I keep trying to move. I move too early, and then I fudge the whole damn thing up. Shit. What's going so much? You gotta understand. Come on, give it up already. Fine, I didn't want to use this. I got no choice. Goodbye, partner. Look what you made me do! That lasso's made from premium materials. Shit. Leather boots and broken dreams. Spin your 6-shooter several times to intimidate Starlo. First, I was truly happy. That's really real to you. All my sacrifices, all the naysayers. Those didn't matter anymore, because I had what was special. Why was it so fucking slowed down like that? Tension in the air grows. Take a deep breath, prepare for the next attack. But now I've realized the truth. The sheriff stuff is worthless. Starlo tries to tape his lasso back but can't find the end of the tape on his roll. Hate it when that happens. Not that the camera caught. Well, the camera did, but it was off the. I was doing the spinning motion, which really sucked there. Never mind. It probably sucked to begin with, but you know, it was off camera. It was over here. I'm over here doing that and realizing, I maybe you've seen the shadow, but I got the freaking the camera box on the gimmick over here in the what's the term I'm looking for? Portrait, kind of tall portrait, but we all tout justice, but true underground status is only secured through pain. Monster Kind's heroes are titles soaked in blood. Starlo grinds his teeth. I think the slowdown is to try to show just how fast of a gun he is or she is. I'm not sure if it's he or she, to be brutally honest with you. Or again, an NB maybe. I don't know. Your HP was maxed out. In the end, We're nothing but bandits. Wow. As Stardo's left hand is shaking. One. I have one left in my chamber. I'll make this count. You lower your weapon and raise your hands. What? What are you doing? This isn't fair. Starlo! Stop this right now! Who have you become? Because this sure as hell isn't the Starlo I grew up with. Saroba, now's not a good time for this. Don't kick me while I'm down, please. I'm sorry, Star. I know this is weighing heavily on you, but listen. None of us hate you. The real you. We adore you. What we hate is this false, reckless persona you've created. I have my own baggage. We all do. I don't even know if I have room to say this, but bring him back. Bring back the innocent farmer I once knew. I just wanted to be appreciated, revered by all. I was trying to provide a slice of the service, but we have none. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not even telling you to quit running the town. Just don't let this identity consume you. It isn't healthy. How many, how many professional wrestlers out there kind of had that happen? They kind of forget they're not their gimmick. That or their gimmick is so heavily based on who they are that um, they after a while can't tell the difference. You know what would fix the current situation I'm in if I just fuck around and go get a haircut? I need to get a haircut pretty badly, actually. This 1970s baseball player puffed out hair, fucking goddamn mullet in the fucking back. None of it I like. None of this I've intentionally tried to do. I just was too fucking lazy. I'm just like, fuck it. And after a while, I'm just like, let my hair grow out a little bit. I haven't done that in a long time. Probably because my hair is so fucking thin on top at this point. This is kind of, I don't know. I guess maybe a last hurrah or something like that. Because I'm just gonna cut all this shit off. Which I mean, I used to do anyway. I used to do. I used to keep my hair cut pretty goddamn short anyway. Um, that kind of changed when. That kind of changed when it stopped looking like I was doing it on purpose. Very well. Over. I'm terribly sorry for attacking you. I do value your friendship and the time we spent together. You have every right to make fun, but this is who I really am. I'm not a real sheriff, just some nobody farmer. Don't say that, Star. Might not be a real sheriff, but this whole show wasn't only for some personal power trip. I also did it to cheer you up. wanted the old me, but I also wanted the old you. Because of Kanako. Hey, appreciate that, Star. I believe I have business to take care of relating to her. What do you mean? I must tell you something. I suppose Clover should know as well. As much fun as it is to have duels and catch bandits, pressing matter looming over me. Go to the old steamworks gate. We'll speak there. Come on. I guess you're really part of the team now, Clover. You heard her. Clover, Clover! So I have good news and bad news. I'll start with the good. Turns out, the wife of that old friend I told you about is here. Her name is Soroba. You probably met her already now that I think about it. She broke my cell lock with a sick magic staff and let me go. Also made sure I wouldn't tell. Also made sure she knew I wouldn't tell Asgore about this. So now that that's taken care of, bad news. I'm about to go back on my word, sadly. I know I just said I wouldn't leave your side, but then, this crazy detour happened. So I realized I threw my job to the wind to travel with you, but since the imprisonment took up so much time, I have to go back. If I don't at least clock in, the Royal Guard will grow suspicious. Plus, Ava is totaled. It was their property. I'll only be gone for a moment to fix my mistakes. Soroba encouraged the decision, so don't worry. She told me she would accompany you on the journey to Hotland. So hey, it all works out. Again, I'm so sorry about this, but I'll see you later. Hey, work be like that. Okay, I can move again? All right. Howdy. You're becoming a pro at this, buddy. At this rate, you'll be able to confront Asgore himself. Welcome to Sunnyside Farm. Ain't much, but we call it home. My name's Solomon. You must be from Starlow's Town, eh? I have mixed feelings about it all, but if I'm being honest. The boy rarely talks to us. It's a shame. Probably thinks we hate his life choices, but that just ain't true. Because of him, that our farm stayed in business during the old drought. This little town attracted monsters to this area after most moved away. I believe that deep down, saving the farm was his true motivation. I do. Cool. Is there a way up here, or no? Okay. Sorry, can't talk long. I'm preparing for harvest. Must be one of those wild east folk. Huh? No, I didn't say anything. You attempt to turn the pump on, but the handle won't budge. Cellar's locked. Must be where the harvest is stored. No, not really corn maze, but corn path. Oh, you can go up here. Oh, hello, little one. Are you a friend of my son's? He's always making new friends. I can't keep up. In any case, make yourself at home. Fireplace is riddled with cobwebs, regular cobwebs. Check it between the cushions for loose change. All you find are crumbs and corn kernels. Picture of Starlow and Soroba as teenagers. Oh, yeah, braces, I think. Nothing special, just a lamp. double-decker rocket ship ready to blast off into pleasant dreams. Yo, see you, space cowboy. Okay. Excuse me. A thick farmer's almanac written by Solomon sits on the dresser. It has several sticky notes poking out of its pages. Desk displaying Western memorabilia and a sewing machine. The piece of fabric under the machine has been left unfinished. Oh, blinds. Locked. Locked. A dirty hat similar to Starlow's rests on the rack. Always good to have a backup. Go this way. Oh, hello again. I have some news. You can now ship yourself if you so choose. Ship myself? What could that mean? Transportation, all for free. If you want to travel, give me a call. We will set to the skies without a care at all. Now I must go, but don't be nervous. Just ring the bell for our service. Oh, fast travel. Okay, cool. Hello, greetings, hip hip hooray. What can I do for you today? You have a watch? If you don't, that's fine. Because you know what time it is? Mail time! Mail time! You received mail. Truly hope you like your mail. As for me, I must set sail. Greetings, Clover. Life has been a treat since we last saw each other. I packed up all of my belongings and set out for Snowden. Recently found a nice place to settle down. I think you'll like it. Oh, and all of the neighbors moved out with me. Not too sure where each one went, but I know they are doing well. I'm also taking art lessons from Panilla now. She gave me the cold truth and said my art needs lots of improvement. Stung at first. It usually does. But then I remembered that you should always aim to improve yourself. Ah, look at me rambling again. I hope the mail service doesn't charge extra for that. It was nice to talk to you again, even if it's over written text. Please visit me in the future. Life is getting a lot better. Dalv. I need to go buy some items, so. Where in the world would you like to fly? Choose the place and the UGPS sign. Very fine choice. I cannot scoff. Hop on basket, and we'll take off. No, we have arrived without a scratch. Journey was fun, but it's time to dispatch. Just ring the bell for any further assistance. The UGPS will be there with little resistance. Triplets. Hopefully Martlet didn't give you too much trouble. Not that she would. If you want a guard to mistake you for a human, she's definitely the best one. Yeah, lady, if only you knew. Sorry, I'm not home. It'd be like that. Oh, hello. Please don't mind me. I was only attending to this little fella. Old sapling has garnered some experience in the world, crafting its own identity through perseverance. However, still has room to expand into something greater. Well, Old abandoned wagon. Yo, exciting news. I just built myself a new computer, and guess what? You can play games on it! Sorry, North Star, but I'm never leaving my room again. You know, I always say, now, some I'm a bit older than a lot of you other streamers and many of you viewers. Some of you might be around my age, but uh, whenever somebody there is an old saying from my youth, and you've probably heard it as well. It's called "Get a life." When somebody tells you to get a life, they're trying to trick you. It's a trap. Okay? All right? Responsibilities, bills, bullshit like that. It's a trap. It's less time you got to sit here and play video games, which sucks. And then, like, it never ends. It's one thing. It's like, cool, I'll go over this, make some money, come back, buy some more games. No, no, it never. You never escape. There is no. It is a trap from which there is no escape, and it is bullshit. So, whenever my advice to all of you, okay, just advice from your common, old school fucking loser. Um, Whenever they tell you get a life, don't. It's a trap. As Admiral Akbar has been known to say, it's a trap. Hello again. Need a boost? Kinda. Yes. All right, let's begin. A little bit of this and done. 15 extra HP. Thank you. Come again soon. Howdy, howdy, human. Take a gander at my wares. Hard hitting stuff. Was all the drama settled? It's real rough out there. If I were like siblings. Now and then a spat rears its head. Of course, most of the time it's something like Mooch stealing Ed's hat or Star forgetting to turn off his mission machines out in the dunes. Happens. And this was a step above. Ain't my business, but I'm sure it'll all smooth over in time. At least I hope. Family, right? Heard fears of royals barging into town? Your presence did cause a stir, only natural. The government takes human business seriously. Very seriously. Sure you've been hunted and attacked 100 times by now. Happens every once in a while when a human falls down here. Man, if I didn't have a business to upkeep, I'd let whoever's wronged you have it. Well, thank you. Hey, if you're worried the town's going to be ransacked, I wouldn't be. Royals don't come around here often. I don't think they much care what we do. To my knowledge, last time any representative showed was to post a flyer on the news board and notice of some kind of new healthcare program. Old Fluffy Buns and his posse aren't exactly the most active group. Other than chasing the odd human, I don't think they have anything else to spend their time on. Seems monster kind is peaked in a way, so I reckon everyone should just come out here and spend their G on a slice of the surface. Oh, Soroba's partner? Well, kind of a heavy subject. Never really came around this town back in the day. Didn't like what it stood for, not that the tension was one-sided. Whether it was politics or an unburied hatchet, Star didn't speak highly of the fellow neither. There was one time, though. It was after hours, no one here but me. Bam! Front doors swung open and in walks Chujin. He was breathing heavy, worn and rugged, unusual for a clean-cut monster of science. I didn't think he drank, but nevertheless, he sat down to order a cold one. I asked if something was the matter, but All he said was, I believe I've seen a ghost. Weird, huh? Like a monster? Couldn't be what he meant, right? Who knows? Shoot, I said too much, haven't I? All in all, I wouldn't bring him up around Star or Soroba. There's a lot of feelings there, you know? Sorry, but I need to be more careful of what beans I spill. I ain't becoming to spread gossip while a widow's still in mourning. Eh, true. Soroba's little troublemaker, real cute kid. She likes to hang around us and the five when her mom's in town. Looks dang intimidating in the cowboy hat, too, that's for sure. A little older, she would fit right into our group. So I don't think Soroba would allow it, seeing as we might not be the best influence. Anyway, I've been meaning to ask Soroba where Kanako's been. School, field trip, maybe? She does like to travel around the underground. Yeah. Heard a little bit of where Soroba might be. Not good news. So I think she'd be allowed to wouldn't think she'd be allowed too far ever since well, I could tell stories for hours, but that's the gist of it. I get a couple ice waters because I only have 20 hit. Well, I have 35 at the moment because of stopping by that one spot. But howdy, deputy. You're the deputy, right? The squad got real peeved off after learning that. Yeah, don't worry. I believe in you. Oh, that's cool. Oh, why if it isn't the deputy? Will you sign my needle? Please do. Sure. How exciting. Here's a pen. You make a few scribbles on one of the fellow's needles. Oh boy. Hope you don't mind if I sell that needle online. Ta ta. Yeah. Wanted. 30G reward. Not wanted. No reward. Oh, okay. Cups. Feisty Zero. What happened? Saloon gigs Monday. Metaton Friday. Not sure. Anyway, let's go back this way. Put this place behind us, pal. Put this place behind us, pal. There you are. I was about to come looking for you. So, the scene works. That's why we're here. Because of this, the mask cannot go made for you. Yes. You see, Clover, Kanako is me and Chujin's only child. You haven't seen her around because she. Hey, everything will be okay. I don't know how tough you are. You can move past this. I'm positive. Now, there's no need because she's alive. I feel her presence as we speak. The lab. Precisely. Clover, you may not know this, But there's a lab in Hotland. Clover may not know this, but I do. An inquiry for the fallen down was sent out some time ago. Shit. Well, I have an idea where she might be. That's the problem. I didn't know what else to do. My time of thing. I must travel to the lab to find out where my daughter is. I'm proud of you, Sarova, stepping out and taking charge. Been on a route lately. It's tough to watch. I don't know if I should still use that voice for Starlo or not, but I mean, still maintaining that character, so sort of. So why travel through the Steamworks particularly? It's the quickest route to Hotland from here. Nothing but abandoned rooms as far as I know. I have Chujin's old passcodes for any locked doors as well. Solid plan. If you need me, I'd be happy to accompany you. I don't know how ugly things at the lab may get. You need to stay here and take care of the town. I believe you owe your posse an apology. Yeah, you're right. I'll take Clover with me. Proven to be skilled on several fronts. An excellent choice. I trust Clover to deliver justice out there. All right. We discussed enough. Let's get moving. Beep, 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 beep. Okay. Through the Steamworks. I'll see you later, Starlo. Whatever happens, remember this. Remember that this is for Chujin's legacy. Oh, Clover, before you go, I forgot to give you this. You got the deputy badge. Despite a few hiccups, your little adventure is a blast. I'll be seeing you around, partner. So proud. Okay, so let's see what that item. Remember, I'm in charge. Stay close. We'll reach our destination soon. Keep up, Clover. We don't have all the time in the world. I see something. Follow me. Guess I should have expected this. At its prime, this was the main power source of the underground. That obviously was many years ago. Yeah, that was before Doc WD. Until we breathe life back into this thing, we can't progress. Wonder how that would affect the core, if at all. Some kind of console here. Maybe one of Chujin's codes will work. Just give me a second. In the meantime, you can wait over in the corner or something. Oh, okay. I think I'm getting somewhere. Hold on. And no offense, I don't think you had a damn thing to do with it. Oh, probably on this side then. Let's see. Oh, I see. Hmm. Okay. Almost got it. Didn't think this would actually work. Yeah, I don't think what you're doing actually does work. But howdy. Another team up? Wasting your time, buddy. So far, these monsters have only brought you misfortune. I feel like following that lady's orders won't end any differently, especially with all that lab business. Try your best to move things along and not get sidetracked. Hopefully, we can talk soon. Good luck, Clover. Get you saved. Doors jammed shut. Find a stick of beef jerky inside the machine. Take it. You got beef jerky. Smell of old, unwashed clothes makes you feel queasy. Chute is clogged with strange-looking plants. A pair of cargo jeans is stuck to the table. It's been there a while. Why is it everything sticks to tables in Undertale? Here inside the chamber. Far too dark to make anything out. I don't like this change. This something's gonna go down here. Like the little piano. Hmm? Or too dark to make anything out. Dot, dot, dot. It's working! Wait, what have you been up to? Fixing your machine. Oh, I wasn't actually doing anything this whole time, was I? Are you trying? You were trying? Alright, you're clearly more capable of problem solving. I suppose you should lead the way from now on. Head west from here and we'll reach Hotland eventually. You were trying. That's east. Do we go up through here and then west, or do we go... Yo. Steamworks. What luck. Turn the power on, the whole facility goes insane. Since you're now the leader and all, how about you run ahead and turn the steam off? I think I see a switch over there, so no problem, right? Don't worry. I'll catch up. Oh, oh, not too bad. Not too bad. Oops. Have you played Undertale itself? Yes, I have. I have played Undertale. I have played both chapters of Deltarune. Um, it was many moons ago, but I actually played a full Undertale pacifist playthrough on stream. I don't have the VODs anymore, and at that time I wasn't downloading them, so I Twitch has changed. There was a time where they would just like keep your VODs at least for a decent amount of time. I remember there was a time I could upload videos. Like there was a time you could upload videos kind of like you could to YouTube. And if you weren't streaming, you could actually have them just play those videos almost like a playlist. And so um we was doing that for a long time. So but yeah, my unfortunately my playthrough. The bad news is my previous playthrough of Undertale on stream is I don't believe exists anymore. I guess the good news is it does allow me to, if I choose to at some later date, interesting little flower gimmick there, do a playthrough again. Obviously, I can't call it even that one wasn't the first playthrough, but so I couldn't call it a first, but this, obviously just came out late last year, so yeah, this is a first playthrough. But how are you doing? Decency in Engineering Award, Professor Daniels. Excellence in Engineering Award. Dr. Rutherford Oscar. You tried in engineering, Mr. Chuchin Kitsukane. You tried. He never told me he won an award. I'm proud of him. Greatness in C minus minus. C minus minus. Okay. Something's about to go down. Axis model 014 ready to guard and protect. Intruders spotted. Steamworks Eastern Branch. Wait, who are you? Axis model 014 ready to guard and protect. You just said that. My vocabulary is not expensive, ma'am. Okay, well, I wasn't expecting anyone to be here. If you let us through, we'll be out of your hair. 1, I do not have hair. 2, I cannot allow you to pass. You have trespassed on private property. You have also utilized machinery without permission. No, we're just heading to Hotland. We aren't malicious in the slightest. It was us who woke up this place. Isn't it nice to have power? While it is nice to be operational again, it is also not nice. I am the last of my kind to police this area. All of my comrades have rusted over. I always knew I was the best. Now I also knew I was the best, but I am also lonely now. Oh well. I will now trap you in a cold, dark room, for which you might perish. My husband, Chujin, used to work here. I have permission. Don't make me hurt you. Chujin might re-enter. Huh? Sorry, I do not see him present. Goodbye. Wait. What was that landing? Ouch. Can't say I was prepared for that. I knew my husband was an engineer, but he never told me about that guy. He mentioned a robotics project that could net him a promotion, but he stopped talking about it after he quit his job here. Ugh. I would have used force to bypass Axis, but I'm not sure now. It may be the last remnant of Chujin's talent. Axis? It would be best if we could just avoid him from now on. In any case, pretty lucky he's the only guard bot around. Wait a second. I have an idea. You mentioned how he was lonely, right? Well, what if we fix that? We could use scraps lying around him to forge a companion for him. He doesn't seem too bright after all. Maybe that's all we need to distract him. What do you think? Worth a shot? Why the hell not? Great. It's the best plan I could think of. So, we seem to be in some sort of storage room. Look around for parts we could use. Shouldn't take many. Building a robot. You want to use this? I don't know. Okay, we'll need 3 more objects. Think this will work? I don't know. Grab something else then. Is Undertale Yellow more of a puzzle game? I know Undertale seems to have a lot more fights and strategy. I mean, there are. Oh yeah, I always use a bow. Um, there's kind of both. It's there are a few puzzles that you're gonna have to complete in order to make it through, but huh, there we go. this a good pick? Definitely. One more object should do the trick. I mean, like, the vent has a few loose screws. Uh, is your final choice? Sure. Okay, let's build a robot. Um, rotate scale item. Oh, did not know this was okay. There's a robot for you, right? I mean, but yeah, there's there we go. No, that actually was not what I wanted to do at all. But yeah, I mean, there's usually at least a there's usually at least a stage puzzle that you have to complete. Um, the fights, I don't know if I want to say that the fights have necessarily been difficult. I think it's more just I think it's more just the fact that I don't really like. I don't know the patterns. No, god damn you. There, there we go. All done. It's simple but recognizable. Not bad. That looks nothing like what I put together, but okay. Looks like a pair of googly eyes on a Nintendo Switch dock on top of a Xbox 360 with some wheels. Takes care of that. kind of creative when push comes to shove. All due respect to Chujin's work, but this might just fool access. I'll hold on to it for you. Okay. Get out of here, yeah? That's the plan. Door is locked. Okay. Finagle it open. There we go. Can't say that was fun. Let's be extra cautious from now on, okay? I will say though, as a fan game, that Undertale Yellow's pretty good. Wait, another robot? Want a sip of my mop water? It's freshly made. No way, we can't fight this thing. What if Chujin built? You know what? We'll talk later. Let's find a peaceful way around them. I'll do my best to provide defense for us. Jandroid tries to whistle to the music. You offer to give Jandroid a scrub. They seem offended. Oh, no, you. Okay. Oh, okay. Floor slippery. I got you. Jandroid finds you too hygienic. You won. You earned. Okay. There you go. Well, that's great. The dead end. Looks like we're gonna have to. What the shit? The floor is lava, travelers. I'm sorry to say I failed the game some time ago. Bzz. However, you do not have to. I will ferry you across the lake. Bzz. The floor is lava. This bot doesn't seem malicious. That's new. Say we give it a go. Thank you for your trust. With my help, the floor will not be lava. It will just be floor. Bzz. Take a ride. Ain't got any better options. Rubber duck. Okay. Well, this kind of reminds me of like old like Final Fantasy uh, boat rides, or maybe to a certain extent when you get like your airship with a little less control. Again? Well, let's get on with it. Watch your step. It's down here. Oops. Damn it. Ah! Obviously, there's a bit more puzzle to this stage. Damn, that one's fast. But no worries. Okay. What did that do? I mean, I know what it did. It raised up gimmicks, but take a ride. Topmost paper is a handwritten letter to King Asgore. This project, while exciting, will be quite the undertaking. We will need mining company to work overtime to provide the necessary materials. Furthermore, a meeting was conducted at the factory. I'm happy to report that everyone is on board. There already are many great robot ideas floating about. Cooking, cleaning, recreation. The motivation is through the roof. Though one engineer suggested we take this further with a protection bot. I'm quite unsure about that proposition, but you have the final say. In any case, we will see this completed. Z. Professor Z. Safety is priority. Wear your Steamworks safety goggles during work hours. Always keep your Steamworks ID with you. Decontaminate yourself and any biohazards before you leave the premises. But most of all, have fun. Poster of a smiling monster with a slogan above them. Tomorrow means the surface. Tick tock, tick tock, tick tock. The current time is 6:26 Monday morning. I mean, it's not, but okay. You may have noticed the apple trees outside the Steamworks are blooming. That means spring is upon us. This time of year, my creator recommends a picnic by the river just south of here. River just south of here. Okay. What kind of games are you into? Puzzles or like fighting games? Both actually. The only kind of games, and I know this is I know this is a sin for modern gaming, but it is what it is. Only kind of games I'm not a super huge fan of are first person shooters. I'm just not particularly good at them. Um, as was discovered a couple of videos ago, I'm also really not all that good at rhythm games. But yeah, I mean, I play all kinds of whatever. I'll play. Um, play games like this, more traditional RPGs. Um, yeah, this isn't okay. Um, Fighting games, sports games. I am a big sports gamer, which I know is not really a huge thing on Twitch, so I kind of try to avoid that for the most part. Project Metal and Magic, effective immediately. Cease home utility production at the factory. The rest of the page is redacted. Um, what kind of games do you like? What kind of games do you want to see? That's the main thing. Is I wanna know what kind of what kind of games do viewers want to see me play? Because I can like obviously I'm gonna try my best to finish at least a pacifist run on this. Um, but like I've played this. I've played NBA 2K on here. I've played wrestling games on here. I've played uh, Earthbound Beginnings, Pokemon. You know, all kinds of stuff. You might enjoy Cuphead, although difficult. You might enjoy the character. I think I got Cuphead. I don't know. Yeah, I definitely do want to play that on stream though. That is a excellent. No, I don't want to go. Okay, I don't know where to go from here. um, yeah, that is an excellent suggestion because yeah, I'll have to look. I think I downloaded that though, or I got it on Game Pass or some shit. I don't know where to go. It just takes me all the way back, huh? Yeah. Yeah, so no, that's not it. Yeah, maybe after I finish whenever I finish this game, um Cuphead could be a maybe I'll play that on stream next. I've been meaning to do that anyway, just you know, getting past the small technical issues that my computers had in recent. Now I have Xbox, so as much as I would love to play, as much as I would love to play the Final Fantasy Rebirth, that's I don't have a PS5, so that's just honestly it's just not an option for me right now. find 60G in the trash can. Take it? Hell yeah. Yeah, I don't know where to go because it's already been down here. Why the puzzled look? Have we not met before? I am the grandfather clock of the underground. It is my responsibility to keep standard time for all monsters. However, I cannot help but feel there is a miscalculation in my tick-tocking. It's simply driving me mad! No, that just takes me back here. And this is why the title of this is Oldhead Gamer Plays Games Poorly. Because younger gamers, such as yourself, I don't know why the hell I'm looking. Why am I looking down here for? There's nothing over here. Camera's over here, dumbass. Saying that to myself. Camera's right there. Um, Younger gamers would have already figured this out. They'd be on the boss of this area already. Well, already did that. Already did that. I don't know how many of you out there know who Geek is. Recently, she's kind of left streaming, but for a little while, her and her sister were running a channel, and then it really just kind of became her channel. And she used to play Super Mario Maker 2 troll levels, and occasionally we used to tease for you know, throwing for content, right? I promise you, that's not what's going on here. Because I wouldn't keep going around these same circles over and over and over and over and over just to make contact. That either. To make contact, to make content. I would figure out where I'm supposed to go, and I'd I'd handle this level like a boss! I can't do that because I don't know where to go. Like I don't want to yeah, this takes you back here. I don't want to look it up on wait, that no. Yeah, that just takes you back there. Okay. Of course there's nowhere to go even if you could get to that bridge. The grandfather clock's time is 1. This is no. Go back from here. No, that just takes you to the. Oh, let's see. Or does it? It says 1500 or 3 o'clock p.m. Do not sense the gears turning within these walls. Yes. I believe the main clock face outside has stalled. An engineer should arrive to fix it. So do not worry. I will continue to keep the time. Tick tock, tick tock, tick tock. Okay. Oh, I don't want to go all the way back here. Okay, so we gotta help the grandfather clock fix his time. I'm guessing. How do we do this? Hmm. Hmm. I'm just at this point. I'm just trying to think of something, and we got to do some kind of backtracking, or no? Okay, that's good. This. Well, let's see. Okay. If we do, I don't know. I don't think we'd have to do this much backtracking, but I don't know that for certain. Okay. Yeah, I don't think it's back here. Okay. Well, We're coming up on 8 p.m. Gear right there. I'll stumble onto something here pretty soon. I might call it for the night. I wonder if let me see. I'm gonna try something and flash warning. Some of these Undertale games will have a hidden I don't think it does. I think I'm just producing a really, really annoying ass picture. Okay. These Undertale and Deltarune games will have a they'll have a spot where you can do something like that, and then find like a hidden room in between the rooms. Can't interact with the rubber duck. Maybe it's a real duck. Who knows? Who's to say? Yo, I don't think. Okay, I think I found a way out. Well, that's good because I was starting to get tired, and the fact that it gives me options. This is just the same thing, right? Yeah. Slurp, slurp. Ah, nothing like Steamworks boba soup to fuel the engine. What? Don't act like you've never heard of it. I mean, I have now. You have reached your destination. Thanks for the help. Let's keep moving, Clover. If you need another ride, I'll be here. We'll see. Now that I know where to go, let's explore. I don't mind exploring. Bam! It's your boy Mo. How'd I get here? I got contacts, alright? Eyes all over the ground. No chit chat though, it's business time. As you know, I'm always scouting around for the next big thing, right? Right. So I was on my way here and spotted a bunch of glowy plants on a wall. First thought that sprung to mind, taste them. And I'll tell you what, the stuff hit me like wham! Best cuisine you'll ever experience, truly. You got something. I ain't done with the pitch yet, miss. This is important. But, like I was saying, plants, more like pleased, it's on fire. I even molded them into recognizable food shapes for that visual appeal. Visual appeals half the battle, I say. Fucking Mo. Ain't nobody gonna buy your product if it looks ugly, right? But you would. I know it. Old Mo can always count on your business. You okay? Never better. Now, where's my stand? I have a few products left in my pocket. Don't go yet. Here's what I got. Moss salad, flour stew, grassy fries. Um, got some grassy fries. Appreciate it. I'm still open for business. Take a look. Got some moss salad. Appreciate it. All right. I think I'm a little short on cash though for the flour stuff. Oh, okay. Pile thin strings with a layer of fuzz atop. Oh, I think looks like you'd be from another world. Deltarune. Take a ride? Yeah. Okay. All right, Mo. All right. Well, coming up on 8, but I'll play a little bit more now that we've actually made some progress. Get my ass kicked by a boss a couple times and then call it a night from there. Escape, convict, spotted, Steamworks, office branch. Oh no, run. Halt. You are coming with me. Stay here while I get the tall lady. Do not touch anything. Touch everything. Highly competitive game of Chessers was played here. Scribbles and doodles of surprising quality lie on the table. You wish you could draw that well. A few papers are scattered on the table. Seems to be unfinished proposal for security camera installations. Okay, can't interact with that. All right. Have you seen my wife? Um, Trash can. Portable coolant dispenser. Handy. Security station would be useful to track roaming robots. If there were any cameras in the Steamworks. Okay. Mummified remains of an abandoned pizza party. Not even you are brave enough to try a slice. Yeah, nah. Yeah, Case, like I was saying earlier, Ah! Damn it. Enough running. Almost made it. Do you have the ability to cooperate, or are you toying with me on purpose? Either way, I am starting to really hate you. Damn it. Okay, you can't go through a door, alright. Damn, how long is this? Uh, Clover, the lockers. Follow me. Gotta go enjoy. Hey, thank you for coming by. Yeah, every Wednesday, 6-ish p.m. Pacific. For those of you, I happen to know this person, so those of you who may not be in the area may have to adjust time depending on which time zone you're watching from. But yeah, Wednesday 6 p.m. That's at least the target goal. I may do other streams. Maybe occasionally on a Friday or Saturday or whatever. But Wednesdays at 6 p.m. is when I try to be on. So hey, thank you for coming by and chatting up a little bit and actually helping me out a little bit with one of them situations. I didn't think anything about that grandfather clock, to be honest with you, other than it being a character. Um, yeah, I'm a play a little bit more, and I'll probably 8:04. I might go to 8:30 and then call it a night from here. So yeah, but Case, thank you for coming by. Out. This guy means business. My husband was one hell of an engineer. I wonder why he kept all this from me. Could have left me some sort of off switch, right? Robot! I totally forgot about our plan. Sorry. Next time we see Axis, we'll try it for sure. I gotta I still gotta add things like alerts and stuff, and I had them a while back, and so when I was streaming previously, that was on a different computer entirely, and while I was able to migrate the hard drive and stuff over to this system, which I have since replaced entirely, but I was able to migrate uh, that hard drive and its data over to this system. Um, I basically ended up having to have to rebuild OBS entirely. So that was also part of the issue with trying to get good streams going, is that my settings were just gone. Uh-oh. Found you. Damn. Well, yo! Are these things avoidable at all? I guess not, especially if it ends up just sucking you into them. I'm getting hit by every goddamn one of them. Are they avoidable? You see there, I tried to switch directions. It just... How did I get hit with a second one? Son of a bitch. I need to get out of this area as soon as possible. Oh, okay. Looks like he's go... Yo! Good deflection. Axis, hold on a second. 1,000,000 seconds. I do not have the knowledge to count that high. What is this about? I have a surprise for you, a special one. I will admit, you have my attention. Proceed. Anybody who's played the Deltarune Chapter 2 Snowgrave route, proceed. Yeah, I don't think I've ever played Deltarune on stream. I might have to do that one of these times, but as Case was saying, I'm probably gonna go with Cuphead after this. I was meaning to do that a while back, and so yeah, I need to actually follow through with that. I need to follow through with plans. I forget what plans are. That's the problem. And I'm like, what was I doing? Oh well, let's go do something. This looks like fun. So I have for you your very own robot companion. A sleek, top of the line model. Aren't they beautiful? No, not in the mood. My eyes are only set on your apprehension. Goodbye. You're making them cry, Axis. Come on now. Robots cannot cry. I have tried. Goodbye. Oh, it was worth a shot. Plan C it is. I am immobile. If you went with our surprise, it wouldn't have gotten messy. Do not mock my judgment. I will return to capture you with new hands. So you could have just done that entire time? I didn't have to run through the whole thing. You could have just, like, blocked and deflected? Well, there we go. Definitely what I need after that madness. Wonder what Starlow's up to right now. Probably on some feisty 5 quest with a smile on his face. I do envy him. Be wrapped in optimism and fantasy. Most might act cheerful, but life down here is hopeless. That's why they look to the king for assurance. They believe once he gets 7 souls and breaks the barrier, he'll easily be able to overthrow whatever awaits on the surface. Rather foolish outlook, if you ask me. Who knows how the humans have prepared for retaliation since then? We haven't. But I digress. We should probably handle our own problems first. Cannot imagine what Kanako's going through right now. You haven't seen my Kanako yet, have you? Here, take a look. Look at that smile. Definitely her father's. Gifted like her father, too. She didn't deserve this life. Truly wish things could be different. But that's not what fate had planned. Fate's a bitch. Apologize for my vagueness. For to keep the bad memories to myself. It's understandable sometimes, you know? Anyway, the lab shouldn't be horribly far from here. We will get to the bottom of this, Clover. In the meantime, you can scout ahead. I'm going to rest a bit longer. Vendi Model 01. Scanning customer. Unauthorized child detected. Go away. Why? What about it? The Steamworks are only the finalists in monster science and engineering. No big deal or anything. Structures built from the toughest steel and the greatest minds, sure to stand the test of several millennia. Searching for a more advanced facility would be like searching for the corner of a circle. Quality machines, such as myself, at every turn. Lives are improved every day. Steamworks. Tomorrow means the surface. I am not a propaganda machine. My creator made sure I specify that. My snacks are up to the highest Steamworks standards. I ensure the employees' designated meal times are as enjoyable as possible. Because of my popularity, I often run out of inventory, to which my creator restocks every Monday at 8. That reminds me, my last boot up yesterday was a Sunday. Dr. R.O. should be stopping by any minute now. I simply cannot wait. But none of that is your business now, is it? Searching for Access in the database. Access, latest model 014, is a robot built to act as a royal guard. Production goal, create an army of Access guard bots to protect monster kind from humanity. Production status, discontinued. That is all the information I have on this robot. If I were to be helpful, which I will not be, I will tell you to ask an engineer in the factory wing for more information. Or is the factory wing? I cannot tell you. You are unauthorized. Not that I trust you to find it on your own, since you are, in fact, an idiot. Code line 327. If a customer is determined unauthorized, treat them with utmost disrespect so they will not buy up the company snacks. My disrespectful state was initiated when I scanned your dull face. Bring a Steamworks employee ID next time to experience hospitable mode. Until then, you may still purchase items, but I will tear apart your self-esteem while you do so. Loser. Oh, yes, I will gladly dispense your garbage. Hand it over. Please stop. Gravity granola. Heals 30 HP. This will kill you. Dihydrogen monoxide. Unfiltered dirt. Bad. Dihydrogen monoxide, aka, I'm not going to give it away. If you don't know, potato chips taste like plastic. The safety goggles will blind you. I will get some potato chips. Item dispensed. Yes, bye. Thanks for nothing. Step by step, one by one. Go on. Just scream if something makes an attempt on your life. Let me see. How long have we be? We be 2 hours, 13 minutes. Let me scan it. Let me move ahead here. I get the feeling we're going to be in for a boss battle. Possibly with said robot. Watch it, Clover. We don't want to alert any outsiders, especially workers under Asgore like the UGPS. Your mail will have to wait. Fair. Howdy. Boy, am I glad that Fox lady let you roam free for a bit. Not being able to talk to my pal has been torture. Now, I know she roped you into some lab detour, but come on, captive monsters, talk about a conspiracy nut. I mean, it's like you don't want to follow my advice. Remember your real mission, Clover. The five children you set out to find in the first place. No need to visit that dingy lab, you know. Asgore's still out there threatening human lives. Keep your head in the game. This is our journey, not Soroba's. Hey, wait up. I think I'm ready to get back into things. Lead the way. Okay. Just an end. Gusick has come to share some sounds. You move Gusick's needle to a new Calma record. Wait, Oh? Your eardrums do not appreciate your current situation. Close your eyes and tap your foot to the music. Gusick joins you. This is nice. Damn. Okay. Left to right. I got you. I don't know how well that comes over stream, but the left right balance did change when that was going on. More steam. Fantastic. One more time, Clover. You got this. Damn it. Seriously, bro? Okay, so just wait here for a second. Wait, what? Oh, so it's not going to change if I don't move. Gotcha. That's bullshit because it means it's going to change immediately. No, okay. Okay. I do notice a little happy face right here. Again, I don't know if you can see it very well on stream, but holy, what happened here? Hope this stuff is okay to touch. Dried up fountain lies before you. Doesn't look remotely operational anymore. Various types of plants sit within several containers. Smell is unnatural. Peer into the box and find a bucket of nails. Take them. Not enough inventory space. You got nails. You've got nails. Load the nails into your gun. Oh, okay. I like the sprite work though. A grown over robot could use a good cleaning. They're much more silent than you're used to. 2. Science Division. Employees have reported the generator is showing more wear than ever. Engineers predict the machine won't last longer than 1 year from now. They need to speed up the testing of alternate power sources. The underground depends on it. Head office. You can almost make out a face on its screen. To head office. More tests are underway, both biological and mechanical. We don't know which direction will ultimately be best for monster kind yet. However, chemistry lab did have a breakthrough regarding a white plant. I'll get back to you on that once further testing has commenced. Science Division. You avoid touching some exposed wires on their back. Seems more forgotten than the rest. Aw. To head office. I think we've got it. The white plants have proven able to generate electricity at a fantastic rate. The only issues are that they grow 4 times faster than normal flora. And once the power is drained, they wilt into a dark, sticky substance. If this is greenlit, we will need a new division to tend to these plants. Otherwise, working conditions will suffer greatly. Science Division. This one looks like it could cut you. You notice a small hat resting on top of them. Science Division. The plant should suffice as a temporary solution. I've heard one of our top scientists is working toward a new compound. Once made from special energy, it could be the key we need. Much more time is necessary to develop it properly, however. As for the proposed greenhouse division, I have an idea. Cheaper, more efficient, and trustworthy. I'll send you some blueprints shortly. Thank you for your time and research. Head office. Oiled up blueprints lie in a box. Take a look. Gardener. Here inside the box. Nothing of interest. Nothing of interest. Here inside the box and find some grassy fries. Take it. You got grassy fries. Hmm. You peer inside the box and find some gravity granola. You've got gravity granola. What was that? I am awake. Gardener model O2 that is imaged. Oh, hello there. Was it you who disturbed the floor? I ask you to please have more respect. We apologize. Won't happen again. Do not worry. Seeing that the child is so young, it is forgivable. I'll report the incident as a level 4 EVEL 10 offense. Level 10 means the termination of the trampler. Hold on. Farewell. Back. Damn it. Hold on. I was hoping to avoid this, particularly on stream. Sorry. We need to find a way out of this fast. White spores twirl through the air. I have incapacitated your options. I ask you to cooperate with me. Accept your offense, trampler. You must learn that plant life is important, more important than you. If you do not yield, I will call for backup. You are a handful. I am going to count to 3. Ah. Wait, 1. 2. Not bluffing. 3. Calling backup. You called for help, Gardener? Correct. This trampler does not value the greenhouse. What is the offense level, miss? 10. Termination. Level 10? I mean, of course. We are sorry, offender. Gardner says you deserve termination. They know. I just said that. So, attack right. Keep it up. Damn it. God damn it. Talk about lethal. Maybe try getting your offense level lower. Well, okay, 8:30. Just after 8:30, we've reached the boss of this stage. Looks like it's going to be a fun boss to play. I will be back on Wednesday, 6 p.m. Pacific, 6-ish. You know, if it's 5:45 or 6:15, you know, it is what it is. I will try to aim as close as possible to 6. Um, maybe you hear the dog barking outside. It could shut up now. Um, that's mean, but it could. Um, that's a good little pup. So just, you know, just loud. Of course, we're at the end of stream here, so it's all good, I guess. So yeah, I want to send a shout out there to Casey Cheerios for dropping by. I'm checking on for the actual live stream for the live stream. And who? Yo, I got it. Okay, I know who I'm gonna I know who I'm gonna raid out to. Those of you watching this on VOD, whether it's on Kick VOD, Twitch VOD, or freaking excuse me, or YouTube once this is uploaded, none of that means anything to you. So yeah, I just wasted a bunch of your time. All right. No, but seriously, we'll be rating out to Mega Man Hunchu here for the live um for the live gimmick, for the not so live gimmick. Well, this is just gonna be the end of stream. Regardless of how you're watching, regardless of where you're watching, and regardless of how, when, where, and even why you're watching, thank you for doing so. Thank you for coming and checking us out. And I am looking to improve things as we move forward. To be on here more often, to be on here on a more regular, more stable basis. I know I've said that probably several times in the past and then disappeared for like 2 months. I don't anticipate that happening because I don't think we have anything coming up. So at least until from now until the start of the next fall sports, and probably even during fall sports, probably till winter sports starts up. I'm gonna be looking to be on here Wednesdays, every Wednesday, and then, like I said, Friday, Saturday, we'll see. We'll see what works out, and if I can find a steady time on the weekends, I will add that as well. Um, I don't know why I'm bothering with this at this point. I'm fixing to get off stream, but whatever. Fix everything up, look as nice as I possibly can, because I need a lot of work. Right, right. The only thing when people say, you know, it's hard ass work looking this good, yeah, especially when you don't have much to work with to begin with. But yeah, like I said, thank you for, however, whenever, wherever you're checking this out. Thank you for doing so. My name is Joseph, and we are out this bitch.